I learned early that a maid survives by subtraction. You put parts of yourself away until what's left is useful. Quiet feet, quick hands, a face turned to the wall when gentlemen laugh and ladies argue. The house ran best when we moved like shadows along the edges. I was good at being a shadow. Hair knotted tight, sleeves rolled, avoiding doorways where secrets spilled. I knew which floorboard sang, and how to soothe them with weight at the heel. I could polish a goblet so bright a lord might see his favorite lie in it. That night the great hall glowed like a hearth turned inside out. Candles trembled. The long table shone with meats and torn bread. Music stitched a ribbon of cheer through smell of roasting and wool. Lord Whitmore sat at the center. To his right, Sir Edmund, advisor and collector of favors, a man whose laugh sounded like someone closing a box. We servants lined the walls, eyes lowered, ears open. The stew, or Mr. Harrow, moved among us counting plates and faults. He claimed the house had a spine, and he was it. Wine, he murmured behind me. I stepped forward. The decanter was heavy, dark glass drowning candlelight. I tipped just enough to fill Sir Edmund's goblet, careful not to let the neck touch the rim. Never touch the rim. Never pour to the top. Rules sewn into my fingers. Sir Edmund smiled at his reflection and talked with crumbs on his lip. I listened only for the rhythm of need, the way his hand drifted to the cup when laughter peaked. That is our work. To meet the reach before it happens. Calm came the way it does when you do what you practiced. Tilt, pause, wipe the decanter, step back, eyes down. I slid to the wall, becoming again what I was. Furniture that breathes. The break came without warning. Conversation faltered, then folded into hush. Sir Edmund's hand climbed to his throat as if a collar had tightened. His smile emptied. Color fled. He coughed once, twice. The cup rattled. Then he folded forward, bowing to a joke no one told. Chairs scraped. Someone shouted for the physician. Mr. Harrow's breath touched the back of my neck. He had appeared without sound. "What did you pour?" he asked, soft as a sprung trap. "Wine," I said, because it was true and because every other word had behind it. Between his question and my answer lived 1,000 rules. Never contradict, never argue, never explain more than asked. They braided around my ribs as the room's attention tilted toward me. Shadows are safe until someone turns with a lamp. Lady Whitmore did not rise. She didn't need to. Her gaze pinned me where I stood. Sir Edmund gagged, a wet sound that made my hands curl inside my apron. The musicians both squealed and went still. The hall held its breath with me. "Fetch the physician," Lord Whitmore said. Feet were already flying. Mr. Harrow stayed. Lady Whitmore's eyes did not leave my face. I knew then what I had always known in theory. Innocence is a thin blanket in a cold room. I wrapped it around me anyway. I straightened my shoulders, set my mouth, and braced for what would come, repeating the only defense I owned. I poured the wine, only wine, and hoping, against sense, that would be enough. The moment Sir Edmund's body hit the table, the hall erupted. Goblets toppled, meat slid from plates, and voices rose in panic. Some guests called for water, others for priests, still others for more wine, as if drowning the moment might undo it. But I stayed frozen, my hands clenched in my apron, knowing already that the current was sweeping me toward ruin. Mr. Harrow's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "I saw her pour the cup." He said it loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads turned as though he had tugged them on strings. His finger lifted, steady and certain, pointing not at the trembling goblet, not at the collapsing night, but at me. I opened my mouth, but my words felt small, thin, meant for kitchens, not courts. "I only did as asked," I whispered, though the noise swallowed it whole. When I tried again, louder, the crowd drowned me out with their own certainty. Lady Whitmore rose at last, her gown whispering against the rushes. Her face was pale marble lit by the flames, eyes dark as coal. "Bring her forward," she said. She did not shout. She did not need to. Authority spoke itself through her, and the guards obeyed. My feet stumbled across the floor, each step dragging me further from shadow into fire. Guests leaned away as though I carried plague. I wanted to plead with them, to tell them I had only filled a cup, nothing more. But my tongue felt heavy, and every word I imagined was already twisted into guilt by the way they stared. Speak. Lady Whitmore commanded when I stood before her. Did you poison him? The hall went silent. Only Sir Edmund's ragged gasps filled the space. No, my lady, I said quickly, my voice breaking against a hush. I swear it was only wine. I did nothing else. Murmurs stirred, doubtless repeating. She swears, in tone that made the oath sound like evidence of deceit. Lady Whitmore's lips curved faintly, not in kindness but in judgment. She swears, yet Sir Edmund chokes. Strange, is it not? No, I cried, but my protest snapped in the air like brittle wood. Please, I am innocent. Enough, Lord Whitmore interrupted, his voice deep with irritation rather than interest. He cared less for truth than for quiet. His gaze fell not on me, but on his guests, who needed reassurance that order still ruled his hall. The steward's words weighed more than mine ever could. His claim became law by the sheer fact of his station. Against him, my denials dissolved like salt in water. Terror pressed against my ribs, but beneath it throbbed something sharper. Despair. Not because I might be punished. I had long known servants lived a step away from ruin, but because I saw with brutal clarity that my truth had no voice here. Still, I clung to it. I did not poison him. I said again, my voice smaller now, almost to myself. If no one else believed me, then I would at least keep my own ears from hearing a lie. But as Lady Whitmore's gaze slid past me, already plotting the next act of this grim play, I felt the weight of hopelessness settle. My innocence might be all I had, but in this house it was worth nothing at all. They took me from the glare of the hall into the small parlor. Firelight licked the car panels. The door shut with the quiet of a hand over a mouth. Lady Whitmore entered, Mr. Harrow at her shoulder, 2 guards by the door. Now, she said, sitting as if this were a card game, tell me what you put in Sir Edmund's cup. Wine, I answered. My voice sounded like it belonged to another girl, someone who still believed answers could save her. She watched me as if I were a stain she meant to lift. Not clever. Try again. Did someone give you a purse? A promise? There are men who would pay to see Sir Edmund chew air. Names, girl. Be useful. I have none, my lady. I folded my hands to hide the tremble. No purse, no promise. Only my place. Mr. Harrow cleared his throat. I saw her pour, he said again, as if repetition were proof. She hovered. You hover when you are watched, I said before I could stop myself. Truth thrown upward is like a rake. It comes back at your face. Lady Whitmore tilted her head. A sharp tongue for a servant in danger. Sharpness often hides guilt. Confess, and be spared worse than a poor night. What would confession buy me? I asked, more tired than brave. My order, she said, which is better than mercy. I understood this was not an inquiry, but a lesson for the house. Offense meets consequence. The rope between masters and servants stays tight enough to sing. The truth in my mouth dried to chalk. But even chalk can mark stone. I did not do this, I said. Search my things. Ask the kitchen girls who handled the bottles. I have no reason. Reason isn't required, she cut in. Only opportunity and will. You had the first. The second I will measure. Her gaze slid to the guards. Were you paid? No. Threatened? No. Do you hate Sir Edmund? I thought of his laugh like a lid dropping on a box. My lady, I am a maid. I am not allowed hate. Everyone is allowed hate, she said mildly. Some of us pay others to carry it. She leaned forward. A confession is a bridge back to usefulness. Without it, you are a problem to be solved. Panic quickened like a trapped bird, but indignation rose with it. I had so little. My hands, my labor, the small pride of doing things right. If I gave up truth, I would have nothing that was mine. I have nothing to confess, I whispered. Disappointment smoothed her face. Then you will give me proof another way. She flicked her eyes at Mr. Harrow. Your eyes are too eager. Leave them at the door. He bowed, stung. My lady. Out, she said. He obeyed, and I learned where his power ended. The room felt smaller. The guards did not move, but the air around them did, alive with instruction. Lady Whitmore rested her hands on the chair arms. "I will not scar you," she said. "Scars invite gossip, but I will have the truth." The bird in my chest battered harder. I gripped my apron. "There is nothing to give you but what I said." "Very well." She rose. "Then we proceed." The guard stepped forward. I closed my eyes, stood my ground, and held to the only thing I owned, the certainty that whatever followed, my words would not change. They led me to a velvet chaise, its cushions perfumed with lavender and dust. It should have been a seat for ladies waiting to be admired, but under their hands it became a stage for punishment. They pressed me down, wrists tugged behind, ankles bound with cord that cut into skin. The knots were brisk, practiced. I thought of trussed poultry in the kitchen, necks bent, wings tied, waiting for fire. Lady Whitmore circled slowly, her gown whispering over the rug. She did not touch the knives displayed on the wall, nor the whip coiled on its stand. She let her fingers trail instead across the silk of her sleeve, as if even considering such crude tools dirted her. "Pain," she said, "is vulgar. Screams are messy. People remember them for the wrong reasons." Her eyes returned to me, bound and small against the chaise. But humiliation lingers. It makes servants obedient long after bruises fade. The guard stripped away my shoes. My stockings followed, rolled down with deliberate slowness until my feet were bare against the cold air. I jerked instinctively. Shame heated my cheeks, though I could not pull away. They left me like that, exposed in a way more cutting than if they'd bared my shoulders. "Look at her," Lady Whitmore said, as though to herself. "Such trembling. You'd think I'd threaten her with irons." She crouched near, her face inches from mine. "No, girl, I'll teach you what you are." Her perfume stung my throat. She touched my ankle lightly, not cruelly, but with ownership, as though I were furniture, property she might appraise. That touch made my heart slam harder than any blow would have. "You servants think invisibility protects you," she whispered. "But shadows can be dragged into the light and shown for what they are, insignificant." I clenched my jaw, the only act of defiance left. Inwardly I swore I would not give her the satisfaction of tears, not yet. Lady Whitmore rose smoothly, restrained her arms wider. She mustn't squirm too much. The guards obeyed. I was spread like parchment waiting for ink. The fire snapped in the grate. My body was taut with dread, my chest tight with the knowledge that this was no search for truth. It was a performance, one where my suffering was a script. I vowed silently, fiercely, that whatever she chose, I would not break into confession. If she thought to unmake me, she would find a spine in the shadow she dragged forward. But beneath the vow, fear coiled like smoke, choking undeniable. Lady Whitmore did not announce what she would do. She sat at the edge of the chaise and set one gloved hand on my shin, as if aligning a tablecloth. "Listen," she said. "There are truths the body gives when the mouth refuses." She peeled off the glove. Her bare hand skimmed my calf in a feathering motion that startled more than hurt. I flinched. "There," she murmured. "Reflex." The next pass was quicker, a teasing sweep that sent a spark up my leg. I bit down hard. "I dislike noise," she said, "but I admire sincerity." Her fingers brushed again, then darted, searching. When she found the soft place below the knee, a sound burst out of me. Half gasp, half laugh. Heat flooded my face. Lady Whitmore smiled, satisfied. "Good," she whispered. "The body will testify." What followed was not pain. It was worse because it wore laughter's mask. Her fingers traced skittering paths, light then firmer, along calves and ankles, then higher to the edge where fabric met skin. I twisted, but the bonds held. A ridiculous sound kept leaping from my throat. I clamped my teeth until my jaw ached, but my body betrayed me. "Confess," she said softly. "Confess and it stops." "I can't." I choked, hating how my protest broke into breathless pieces. Tears leaked unasked. She took them as permission. Her hand slid to my sides, the seam of my waist, the ladder of my ribs. Each touch was a question. Each answer wrenched a laugh from me. I begged breath more than mercy. She was patient, methodical, never cruel with bruises, only with theater. She watched my face as if reading a clock. "See," she said to the guards. "Innocence does not convulse like this." The laughter rose into hiccuped shrieks. "Say it," she coaxed, fingers spidering under my arms where helplessness lives. My head snapped back, the ceiling blurred. I did not. I tried, and dissolved into ragged laughter that tasted of salt and shame. She doubled her efforts where I was weakest. My body bucked, but there was nowhere to go. Time lost its edges. There was only the map of me she charted, and the humiliating music it produced. I thinned to a string pulled tight, buzzed with a single note. Endure. Somewhere in the storm, Mr. Harrow called through the door to ask if all was well. "Perfectly," Lady Whitmore replied then to me. "Confess, and you may sleep." I shook my head, or thought I did. The world narrowed to hands and breath and wrecked laughter. I felt the tipping place coming, where exhaustion would drag my will under, and words might tumble out just to end it. I clutched the only rope left, the truth of what I had not done. "No," I gasped between spasms. "No confession. I have none." Her mouth tightened, not in anger but in focus. She pursued the answer she wanted with relentless gentleness. When at last she paused, it was not mercy, only calculation. "Enough for now," she said, straightening, as I shook in the cords, gulping air. "You will be more reasonable shortly." I hated the small animal noises snagging in my throat. I hated the guard smirks. But beneath the hatred was a harder thing, a core left untouched, battered and breathless and burning, but mine and not yielded. The pause was short. Lady Whitmore leaned back, studying me as if I were a puzzle with one missing piece. "You cling to silence," she said, almost admiring. "Let's see how long it holds." Her hands moved again, this time with cruel precision, probing beneath my arms, along the ladder of my ribs, skimming the hollow of my stomach. Every touch unlocked another wave of helpless laughter, tearing at my lungs. My body jolted and writhed against the bindings, slick with sweat. The chaise creaked beneath me like a ship caught in storm. I sobbed to the laughter, my throat raw, my chest aching. "Please," the word broke into gasps. "Please, my lady, I have nothing to confess." "That," she said calmly, "is your pride speaking. Pride rots faster than poison." She leaned close, her voice velvet over steel. "Say the words, and I will grant you rest." Her fingers pressed harder into my sides, darted at my belly, sent me arching until I thought my spine would snap. The room filled with the undignified racket of my laughter, my cries, my choking breaths. I hated myself for every sound, but I could not stop them. Desperation clawed inside me. The offer of relief glimmered like water in desert heat. Confess, and it ends. A single word could end the storm, but the word would be a lie, and once spoken would brand me forever. I clenched my eyes shut, forcing myself to remember the kitchen before the feast, the quiet clatter of pots, the smell of bread, the small dignity of honest work. That was mine, untainted. If I lost truth, I lost myself. I did not do it. I gasped between convulsions, though the words broke into hiccups and sobs. "I will not confess." Her face darkened, not with rage but with annoyance, as if I were a stubborn lock refusing to turn. She shifted her attention, dragging nails lightly across the arch of my feet. The sensation was unbearable, bright, and shocking. My body thrashed, my laughter shattered into screams. "Confess," she ordered again, each syllable deliberate. "Confess, and it ends." Tears blurred the firelight. My chest heaved. The edges of the room blurred. I thought I might faint, and for a moment I welcomed the darkness pressing in. But still I held, clinging to that single, pitiful rope, the truth. Finally, Lady Whitmore drew back, standing tall above me. "Stubborn to the last," she murmured. "Very well. You may stew in your silence." She signaled the guards, who released their grip but left me bound on the chaise, trembling like a broken reed. I lay there gasping, every nerve ablaze, humiliation carved deep into me. Yet beneath the wreckage, one fragile ember glowed. She had not broken me. My silence was still mine, and though it cost me tears and breath and dignity, I would not surrender it. They left me bound long enough for the cords to burn grooves into my skin. When the guards returned, they did not speak. They loosened the knots with the same economy they had tied them, then hauled me upright by the elbows. My legs buckled. The room tilted. The perfume of lavender and ash clung to my mouth like a lie. Lady Whitmore did not look at me. She drifted toward the hearth and warmed her hands as if nothing of consequence had happened. "Lock her in the servants' wing," she said, as one might say clear the plates. "No visitors. No chatter. She will wait until we are certain what she has done." What I had done. The words brushed past me like a cold sleeve. I was led out barefoot, my stockings crumpled in my fist as proof of nothing. The corridor air bit at the damp on my skin. When the parlor door closed, the noise of the great house rushed back. Voices clatter, the hurried hoofbeat of rumors starting their run. We took the narrow back stairs, the ones that smell of soap and boiled linen. A scullery boy passed us and pretended not to see. The guard shoved me into the small room we used for mending. A cot, a stool, a narrow window that made the moon look like a coin you could never spend. The door shut, the lock spoke. Silence is meant to be a balm, but this one was a weight. My body trembled with echo laughter, the cruel ghost of it rattling my ribs. Every tick of the cooling iron in the hearth traveled through the bones in my feet. I pressed my palms to my eyes until sparks bloomed. I told myself I was alone by choice. Lies, too, can be warm for a moment. I tried to count breaths. I tried to stitch thoughts into straight lines. But every thread ran crooked, snagging on images. Sir Edmund's face gone gray, Lady Whitmore's hand hovering like a moth, Mr. Harrow's finger pointing as if lit by God. I told myself that the physician would find something simple, too strong wine, a swallow taken wrong, and that reason would be a key. I told myself I would be free by morning. Morning is not a key. It is a mirror. When the thin light finally found the window, it showed me a girl with swollen eyes and hair fallen from its knot, bare feet smudged by the floor, wrists ringed red. A girl who had poured wine, and then learned how quickly a life empties when someone tips the room against you. Footsteps came and went outside my door. I learned the footfalls by heart. The light ones that meant the laundry maid, afraid to linger. The heavy ones that meant the guards, pausing just long enough to remind me I was not forgotten in the worst way. Once I heard Lord Whitmore's voice down the corridor. Smooth, tired, already turning the night into anecdote. No one came in. No one asked if I had slept. The hunger never arrived. Fear crowded it out. I drank from the basin and tried not to think of goblets. By afternoon, the house had found its new shape around me. Work continued. Sheets dried. Soup boiled. The clock of duty kept time. I existed between ticks. No verdict. No news. Only the slow bruise of being unmentioned. In this house, we are always close to disappearance. Now I had been placed inside it. Toward dusk a key grated. The guard peered in unreadable. "No word," he said, and shut me in again, the gift of information tossed like a heel of bread. I lay on the cot and let the quiet bury me to the neck. I could not pray. I could not rage. I could only wait, the most servant thing of all. In that waiting I discovered a new kind of tired, the kind that hollows you without touching bone. I told myself that if truth counted for nothing here, then I would count it for everything inside me. I would hold it like a coal, even if it burned. So I endured unseen, with the door's shadow across my feet and the coin of the moon climbing, waiting not for justice, but for an answer that might at least put a name to the night. The answer came not from mercy, but from gossip. At dawn the next day, the lock clicked open. The laundry maid slipped in, her eyes darting to the hall as if she carried contraband. She set down a bundle of linens and whispered, "Sir Edmund lives. The physician says it was only the wine. Too strong. He choked himself, that's all." My chest clenched. Relief should have poured through me, but it didn't. The news hung cold. If he lived, then my name should have been cleared. Instead, the maid's next words cut deeper. They said you're to return to duty. No more talk of it. She touched my arm briefly, a shadow of kindness, then fled before kindness could be noticed. I sat on the cot, staring at the bundle of sheets. Proven innocent. But no apology, no release, not even a glance of acknowledgement from the ones who had condemned me. The night of humiliation, of tears and broken laughter, was dismissed as if it had never happened, as if I were a tool dropped and picked up again without thought. The guard returned, not to explain, not to excuse, but to order, back to work. That was all. His tone as flat as a slammed lid. So I walked the corridors barefoot still, though my feet ached for shoes. The servants glanced at me, quick, furtive, but none dared speak. In their silence, I saw my reflection. A reminder what happens when one of us is chosen for suspicion. When I entered the great hall, it was as though the feast had never broken. New goblets gleamed. Fresh bread steamed. Lady Whitmore sat straight-backed, her gaze sliding over me without pause. She did not even feign surprise that I stood before her alive and unpunished. She had used me, and I had survived. That was all. I took up the decanter. My hands did not shake, not because I was steady, but because I had nothing left to spill. I poured, I bowed, I stepped back into shadow. The rules had not changed. They had only sharpened. Innocence is worthless, truth invisible, dignity disposable. But beneath the ashes of despair, something small and sharp grew. A vow. Someday I would walk out of this house. I would not wait for permission. I would not be dragged back into shadow at another's whim. Someday the door would close behind me, and Lady Whitmore's eyes would never find me again. For now I served. But service was no longer my whole shape. Deep inside, freedom had been planted. Small, secret, stubborn. And it would grow.